This is the Colossi of Memnon. They're called that because the Greeks thought that they were the children of Eos, dawn. And the reason for that was because they had been broken up a little bit in antiquity, and every morning when the wind came up, they whistled. And they thought they were calling to their mother. Hadrian fixed this by repairing the Colossi during Roman times, and they stopped the singing. This is Hatshepsut's temple coming up, which I promised to get back to. And it's one of the most modern looking temples around. It's built straight back into the rock. Looks like it could have been built in this century even. Now Hatshepsut was a pharaoh, the young male heir to the throne. Being too young, she came on as initially his regent, but even after he was old enough to rule in his own name, she continued to rule. She was only his stepmother after all. And the young Tutmosis III, as he was to become, began to chafe quite a bit under her control. And he and his friends used to go to drinking parties, beer drinking parties, up there in the hills to the right of the temple, up in one of those tombs up there. And they used to draw things on the wall, things basically of restroom quality. That tomb is closed off to the public now, and I can't show you what it depicts, but I can show you the tomb where her alleged lover, the vizier, is buried. He's buried not too awfully far from the temple down in this particular tomb. Now, needless to say, Tutmosis III was mighty proud the day that Hatshepsut passed away, and he took her place. And the moment that he did that, he removed her name from every temple and statue that he could possibly remove it from. And that's why you won't find her name, her cartouche, anywhere on the temple. You can see here it's been chiseled away, as has her image. Even so, you can see that the temple is in relatively good condition. There is quite a bit of color left in a number of places where the sun hasn't gotten to. Now, I said that Hatshepsut's name had been removed entirely from the temple. There is one exception to that, and it's right on the face of one of the columns. And as a result of that, it would appear that although Hatshepsut's name was originally completely removed from the temple by Tutmosis III, at some later time, someone else came back and carved her cartouche back into one of the columns of the temple so that people would know that this was in fact Hatshepsut's temple. Now we're moving into the Valley of the Kings, where the pharaohs are buried, and we're going to be showing you Ramses III's tomb, and following that we're going to be showing you Ramses VII. Now, the fact of the matter is, these kingly tombs are not terribly interesting because they're very solidly in the state religion, and they don't show you very much of the daily life. But there is something in Ramses VII's tomb which is interesting to look at. First of all, the tomb is not entirely finished, so you can see the rough stone where they have plastered it over. Look for red lines where the draftsman's drawings were, and then of course you can see the finished product as well. You can see all three stages right here in this particular shot. But the more interesting picture is really in the Valley of the Queens, and that's coming up next. Here we have a very interesting story. One of Ramses III's sons has predeceased him, and the young boy is so young that the pharaoh is leading him through the various stages in order to make sure that he can say all of the correct incantations before each one of the gods. Here the young prince is before Ma'at, the god of truth. And in this particular case, the pharaoh is going to give the right incantations so that the prince can pass this challenge. Now I'm going to walk out of the Valley of the Kings and over the mountain and into the valley that contains the village of the workmen who made the tombs. It's a very steep climb, but it gives you an opportunity, first of all, to take a look at the Valley of the Kings, and that is the Valley of the Kings down below. We're moving over now to the mountain peak that is sometimes referred to as the pyramid of the Valley of the Kings. And beyond that is going to be the lush green area that you'll be able to see in the distance where farming could be done, and where the temples that we've been visiting are located, and where the village of the workmen is located. About 3,000 years ago, the villagers, the tomb makers, got fed up because they didn't believe that they were getting all the grain that they should have, and they walked straight off the job. That's the granary, that's the Ramesseum, but the one that they thought that their grain was located at was in Ramses III's temple, which is over here a little bit to the right. They walked straight off the job and they went to Ramses III's temple. And there in Ramses' temple, they did a sit-down strike. And there they waited until somebody came and did something. Now, while they were there, we happen to know that one of the foremen went to one of the local ladies who was selling date cakes. And he went and bought a bunch of date cakes and brought it down here to Ramses III's temple where the workmen were, and he gave it to them and they ate those cakes for dinner that day. But other than that, they just sat there and they waited for somebody to sort things out, and eventually somebody did. Eventually somebody came in and restored their wages. But things were never quite the same as they had been before. We're moving now from Ramses III's temple, and we're going to take a look at the village itself. The foundations for the village are still very much intact. Now, the village workmen worked in the Valley of the Kings, but they also did the work in the Valley of the Queens and the tombs for the nobles and for some of their own people. And the tombs for their own people and for the tombs of the nobles, that work is some of the most interesting work there is, because there, instead of being interested in the state religion, they were primarily interested in things that were closer to what appeared in daily life. The family scenes were important. In addition to family, there were some very interesting active scenes. The little bird that's there is the soul of the person that's the deceased. We see people doing all kinds of things. This is the opening of the mouth ceremony that you give to the mummy, just as the last rites almost. Some of these are absolutely fantastic, in pristine condition. Absolutely beautiful. They look like they were made only a few days or a few hours ago. You can see people plowing with cattle. You can see harvests going on. You can see everything that one would do in the village. The little cones up above their heads, that's deodorant that contains perfume. Anubis, of course, would be important because he's in charge of the dead, but look at all the boats and everything that there is, the date palms, the activities of the individual. It's more than just the state religion here. Finding the tombs of the nobles was difficult. These were my guides. They helped me to locate various of the tombs. They're scattered around amongst the old the buildings of the new village. And these are some musicians. They're very famous. Today, if you're a brave officer in the military, you might be awarded a Bronze Star or a Silver Star. But back in Pharaonic times, the nobles who were brave in battle might be given one of these golden flies. I still haven't figured out just exactly why a golden